Hi everybody, it's Amy at Crafty Cat. Today we are going to start a new journal using the Autumn 1910 digital download. All the beautiful autumn colors in that one. And this is a collaboration with Carol Laws, so both Carol and I will be making journals at the same time. Also, other people are using this kit. Mitzie at 307 Junk Journals is also going to be using this kit. Nancy Pyter, who I've already mentioned, she has started a journal using this kit already. So I will leave links to all of their YouTube channels in the description box below this video so that you can hop over to their channels also and see what they're doing, because it's really fun to see how different or the same or whatever, you know, certain things that we're doing while we're progressing through our journals. Okay, so I also want to say hugs and blessings to Heidi, Rhonda, and Janet. I want to thank you guys so much for your always kind comments, and just you watch very consistently and comment consistently, and I appreciate you guys so much. I want to say welcome to any new subscribers and welcome back to any returning subscribers. I love you guys. You're the best and the sweetest and just the best. I don't know what else I can say. So thank you. I have here you can probably see it because I did paint over it with some gesso, because I was thinking originally I was going to use something else for the cover, and then I remembered something I had, and so it got painted. But it's just a Wheat Chex box, cereal box, that I've cut down to. This is the actual spine or side of the box. That's how wide it was, and that is, I'll just measure it. I'm going to do a 3 signature journal, which I haven't done in so long. 2 inches is what that is. And then the side from the spine out is about 6 inches. That's pretty much what I do. And then it's 9 inches this way. I already know, because that's generally what I do, is 6 by 9 and a 2-inch spine. So all together, of course, it's going to be a different measurement. So the first thing I think I need to do, see, this is always the interesting part about covers, and I'm going to try from here on out to complete my covers first, because I have discovered that one of my large struggles with making, especially these large journals, is covers. And, well, I don't love binding either, but those two things kind of make me put it off and put it off and put it off. So I'm going to try to get better at making my cover, and then I get to do the fun stuff. Because if I do the fun stuff first, then I just don't feel like doing the rest of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this image and very carefully go over it with some matte medium, because this is going to be on the cover under this. This is what I remembered I had. I have these, they're not Victorian time. They're just kind of modeled after or copied after Victorian times. I think this was in the 80s that this book, it's a whole book full of these frames, different, you know, some are ovals, circles, rectangles, whatever, with different images along the sides. And then it was supposed to be a photo album. So you put family photos or whatever in it. Well, I've taken that book apart a long time ago, and I use them for covers, and I forgot I had these, but it's perfect with this. So I'm going to use that on the cover. And so I have some matte gel that I want to cover these ladies with. I thought about putting acetate in here, but I don't want it to be shiny. So I'm just going to put some matte medium on them to kind of protect it, because this is just on copy paper. Of course, you could do a thicker paper, but that's just going to add bulk under there. So it's sort of, that's a kind of pointless endeavor, if you see what I'm saying. So I'm just going to very carefully, I guess I can bring this in here, try, because, you know, the color, when you print off of a printer, the color comes off, and it just does that, and it's very hard not to have it do that, especially when it's as saturated as this. So it's going to be kind of a quick swipe, swipe, swipe sort of deal, and try not to mess with it a whole bunch. Go over it a bunch of times, because I don't want a problem there. I just want it to be a little protected is all through there, through that window. You see what I'm saying? Go one quick one over their faces. Hope that it doesn't come off. Yeah, these digitals don't like getting wet. That's the only thing. See, there's coming off at the top. I'm going to let this dry and we're going to see if it's even usable, but I'm hoping, because I really want something on it so that it doesn't, I mean, chances are you're not going to do a whole lot to a book, but it's just, you would stink to get water drop on there or something and then it looks like phooey. So anyway, that's that. And then this will go on here. I have a piece of tapestry, and I showed you guys this because I did want to use this originally for the whole cover. That's when I was thinking of doing more like a soft covered sort of thing, but then I decided to do 3 signatures, so then it kind of has to go into the more hardcover realm, in my opinion. It just, I think they are easier that way. But you can do however you want. So I'm basically gonna put this on here, and then I think I will stitch around just to make sure that you know, it's gonna stay down because it is fabric. And also I want to stitch along here because I did have to cut there, and you can see it already is fraying, which it's gonna fray a little bit. I mean, I don't have the ability to do the edging like they do on upholstery. So I'm just going to stitch it to this cover because it's not that thick of a cover. But the first thing I need to do is ink. So it's kind of like this game where you try to figure out what things have to go on first when you're doing journal covers. Because if there's stuff you want to stitch, you need to think about the other side and you know, what's going to be there. You don't want to cover the inside and then stitch and it's stitched in places you don't want stitches, and I don't know, it's this whole thing about what order to put things in, honestly. So I think this will work. I'm just inking the edge so that you know, it doesn't, if you do see anything, hopefully it's not stark white or checkbox or whatever. My husband loves wheat checks. They're hard to find sometimes now because there's so many people that are gluten-free. I think they're just, you know, not around as much. And they're hard. It's hard to get wheat checks. I mean, I obviously do get them, but some days I go and there aren't any. So I don't know if they just don't order them very much anymore, or if they don't order enough of them and they get sold. I don't know. All I know, they're not always there these days. So how are you guys doing? I hope you're fantastic. I am doing well. We figured out that the smell in our garage was our 28-year-old refrigerator. Weird, right? So I kind of thought that when we were first talking about it, but we're like, well, let's get the furnace checked. It was time. You know, it's good to do that once a year anyway, which we usually do. So it wasn't that big of a deal whether they came that day or didn't. But it wasn't the furnace, so that's actually good because that's expensive. But I mean, it's expensive to get a refrigerator too, but I mean, that's not a must. So anyways, but it was the old refrigerator giving up the ghost, so to speak. I'm trying to figure, I want it this way because I want this finished edge, to raw edges. So I'm going to use my most trusty tacky glue. This is what I like. I know lots of people would say use Fabri-Tac, and that is also fantastic. I myself don't like Fabri-Tac only because, not because it doesn't work, because it does. I can't stand the way it feels on my hands. So it's just my weirdo-ness, and I've used tacky glue for probably almost as long as I've been crafting. And I love it. So it's all personal preference. So you use the glue that works for you. That is my best advice. Oh no, not the time to get clogged, you silly thing. Not the time at all. I got stuff to do here. Luckily this stays wet a little longer than art glitter glue. And I'm going to have a really sticky needle. Luckily it washes off very nicely. With some hot water. Oh, come. I had this all ready to go, and now it's just going to be difficult. It's running out is what the problem is. I should have got some more today when I was at Michael's, but I didn't. I think you probably could use art glitter glue too to do this. It's just, I like this thicker glue when I do fabric. So it's totally up to you. What I'm most concerned about is the edges, obviously, because we don't want any lifting of edges. If you see what I mean. Right up along that. Okay. Hopefully that'll do it. Oh, and I want to say a huge thank you to Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. She gave me a really cool bone folder, which I accidentally left downstairs, so I apologize. I just got it. But thank you. That was super nice of you. She was lucky because I'm not accepting Happy Mail, as I've mentioned, and she sent a small envelope, so it kind of snuck by, but yeah. So thank you. Very kind. I appreciate it. Okay, that's gonna have to all be cleaned off. But, and then where it's hanging over, I'll probably just come back after it's dry and, you know, I'll probably leave a little bit of it just because it's okay. But, and I'm going to put some corners on the corners. Some of these little, I think these are Tim Holtz corners. So that will help with that kind of thing. So there's that part. Just make sure it's all nice and smooth down. Hopefully no air bubbles. Okay. Then what we're going to do is this is going to come over here. And then we're going to take a piece of the lace that will go down the spine. But that's not going to go on until after I sew in the signatures, because I just like to cover that. I like to cover those stitchings up myself. That's just my own thing. I'm not much of a thing hanging off the spines thing, but, you know, it's totally fine, obviously, to do that. So it's going to be something to that effect on the spine. Okay, so let's figure out. I'm gonna get my image dry and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I grabbed my ergonomic bone folder that Nikki gave me. Thank you so much. And you can see it's from Dress My Craft, because we treasure your creativity. It's very cute, but it's a nice weighty piece. You know, so I think it helps with the like bone folding. It's got the flat edge on the bottom, round it all on top, and then the nice corner there. See, my fingers are already dirty and gluey. So I did end up going with a heavier weight paper because this one, as you can see, got all wrinkly, so I wasted that piece, but yeah, because it could have been used in the journal instead. But anyways, so I went with a heavier weight, like just a lightweight cardstock. So, and went over it again, and I like the way that looks better. So I'm going to attach that on, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue it to this frame. What do I want to use to do that? I think I'll just use my art glitter glue to attach it. And I think I'm just going to kind of go around the edge of this, more or less. It's a little wet down here at the bottom, but I think that's fine. It'll just help it stick more. You can't see all of it anyway. And then I'm also going to go around here. See, there's a little slot where you can put your own photographs in this photo album. Probably should have kept it together, but it, like I said, it's a reproduction. It wasn't like an actual old vintagey one. I mean, I guess now it is actually vintage, but that's a whole nother story. The 80s, right? When you say that, when you're from that generation, it's real weird. My husband and I last night were watching, I can use this even to do this. It was on YouTube, and it was like the first MTV, or the first time that MTV was on or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, in the very early 80s, I think it was 84. So we were laughing because we were like 12, right around there. And there was even some things on that first one, and just the camera, the fuzziness of the camera, and just all those things. We were just laughing, but there was even stuff on there that I didn't know the songs. I mean, I listened to the radio all the time, but I did not have MTV until I went to college and lived in Reno, because I lived in a small town outside of Reno. But anyways, so we got talking about that too, because he's like, you know all these songs though, you know. It's like, yeah, well, we listened to the radio constantly. I mean, that's all we did was listen to the radio. We just didn't have MTV, so I never saw any of the videos. But we always listened to the radio, always. I think I'm gonna have to use tacky glue for this. But yeah, it was just really fun last night to sit and watch those. Oh my gosh, we were just laughing. And then there was Solid Gold, which I also loved that show because they did a lot of dancing when I was growing up. I loved that. I loved Bandstand. Anything with music, dancing, all that. Because like I said, that was our life. When we were, you know, tweens and up, you know, music was it. Like, you had to know all the latest songs, and I don't know, that's just all we did. We didn't have social media and all that, which, I mean, you guys all know that, but sometimes when we talk to our kids about some of this stuff, they just think it is just the weirdest thing ever, because they listen to music, yes, but not like we listened to music. It was a whole nother thing. And dancing and all that, they don't dance anymore, like go really to dances. I mean, they did a little bit of that, but nothing like what we did when we were growing up. So it's just funny. But that was kind of a memory lane moment last night. We were laughing so hard because, oh my gosh, the hair and just everything, you know, clothes, and seeing some of the bands, like Chicago, I think last night was on there. And Lionel Richie, and just, I don't know, it was just a hoot. Yep. Little walk down memory lane is fun to do. And the two of us have been together since we were 16, so like a lot of our memory lane was, you know, with each other. We were around each other. But that early, not as much, so it was fun to talk about it. And his mom and dad were younger than my dad, and they listened to a lot more of the same music that my husband listened to. Well, I mean, I'm sure they listened to it, and then because of that, he listened to it at that age. But I just mean same sort of like they liked the same music. Like our kids like a lot of the old music from when we were younger, even though, you know, it was so long ago. But growing up, my dad liked country western, and that has just never been one of my things. Like, I don't have anything against it. It's just not really, I've just never really been into it. Surprisingly, because of where I grew up and everything. But anyway, I got into that whole big hair band thing. That was much more my classic rock, you know, that whole time period. 70s and 80s. And my dad was into older style, which I'm sure was very normal at that time. But he was just a little bit older than my husband's parents, and so it's funny also to see the difference because of that. Okay, I think that that is good. It just is going to have to dry. And then, like I said, these will go on here like that. I'm not going to close it back into its original shape because I don't want to mess that up right now because it's still wet. I can tell because it's cool to the touch. And I don't really want to cut this because that's where that finished edge is. So I think I'm going to leave it. I'm going to use on the inside this part of the digital. So it'll be the nice leaves. But first I think I need to stitch around that, get it more dry, stitch around it, and then I will come back. Yeah. So I'll be back again. Okay, I am back and I have these cut to size. That took me a minute because I kept messing up. So essentially all I did was hold my whole piece of paper on my cover and marked, you know, where I needed to cut it. All right, and so it's going to go like this. They're going to kind of meet in the middle, but I'm not really worried about that because we'll probably have some fabric that will go down the middle. So it's not like a big deal that they look weird in the middle, right? Because sometimes you do see parts of the middle. You definitely do. Between the signatures and things like that. So I don't want it to look odd. And I'm kind of meeting sort of in the middle of the spine just so that I didn't really want, and there might be a little overlap, but I don't want a lot of overlap or anything. That is sort of redundant. So yeah, hope you guys are doing good. I'm just having one of those days where I probably shouldn't have got out of bed. I just feel like everything I keep doing it messed up, and then I have to do it again, and so everything's taking me 3 times longer than it probably should. You know, it's one of those days. So I'm going to start with the back one, and I'm going to use the tacky glue so that it sticks real well. And I'm kind of pushing the tip onto the paper just so I don't get too much glue. I always get too much glue, but you know what I'm saying. Try to keep it sort of under control. This is why I don't normally do covers on YouTube. For one, it's not like the most exciting thing because you're mostly just watching me glue and measure and whatever. And also, it's a lot of stop and start, and because I have to figure out what's going to fit, and then I got to go sew this, and so I think that's why I don't do a whole lot of covers, but I decided I'm going to do this one so that you guys can see how I did it. But yeah, covers are sort of one of those things you just got to play with, and you will mess up and have mess ups, and you just got to keep kind of trucking along, because you could make yourself insane trying to get it to be perfect. And it's never gonna be perfect because we're human, and you know, we measure things wrong, stuff gets cut not completely 100% straight, but it's all handmade, and that's what you need to tell yourself, which I struggle telling myself as well. Don't feel like I'm saying I do it right, because I don't, and I beat myself up a plenty. But you just gotta kind of give yourself a little grace. Try to realize that it's probably not going to be perfect, no matter how much you want it to be, because that's just not a thing. So, but I do really try my hardest to make it, hopefully, so it will stay together as well as humanly possible, right? I don't really want glue all over that bone folder, so I'm gonna use this. But yeah, you just gotta kind of, that's really my big thing, is I try to make sure all the edges are glued really well. I just don't want stuff coming apart. I mean, yeah, after a number of years, it's probably gonna come apart, but we just gotta try to, that's why I stitched down this part, because I didn't want there to be a weird gap with the fabric eventually or something like that. Okay, I like that. I think that looks pretty good. So then we'll take our other side and put our leaves at the top, leaves at the bottom, front, back kind of thing. And again, I don't know if I said it, but this page is in the digital, the Autumn 1910. I'm so excited that Mitzie is going to do this, and Nancy and Carol. And Dee Dee mentioned she may like to use the kit. She just hasn't. She's doing stuff right now with My Reason for the Season digital, because she's working on her 3 and 15 thing that she does every year for Christmas to get like some Christmas journals done. So she's, you know, I know she's not going to do it right now or anything, and that is 100% fine. But keep your eye peeled, because probably eventually she will. And Mitzie and Nancy are so nice to use the kit and be willing to say, hey, Amy at CraftyCatUSA or CraftyCat on YouTube, whichever, has this kit in her shop. So that is super sweet of them. I appreciate it so much. All the help is much appreciated. Oops, see, then I do stuff like that. The glue lady. Why, I don't know. I don't want to take away the color. I think this, yeah, this is probably in the spine, but still. Well, hopefully it will not be so dark, because I don't want to keep doing that. I'm just going to rub all the color off. Is that, I'm pretty sure that's part of the spine. Yeah, that's right on those stitches. That's another part of it. So that will probably get covered with some fabric, luckily. much that glue moved around out to the edges. All right, well, now we just have to let it dry. So I'm gonna move this aside, and I think we'll fold some pages. And I'm sorry that's so bright and obnoxious. Not that white paper is better, but at least it doesn't glare. All right, so I have some things that I want to use for pages. I have some Edith Holden, and although this kills me, I'm going to put these in this journal. Because otherwise I'm just going to hoard them for the rest of my life, and what's the point of that? So it's very hard for me to do that. I love her work. It is like my ultimate favorite. So like I said, I'm going to do 3 signatures, so there will be 1 for each. So see, this is super not exciting either, but I thought there might be people who are new that want to see, you know, what do you do? So if you are making a journal for the first time, you can do a few things, because I know not everybody is going to have all the stuff that I've collected over, you know, 6 years. So you can use old book page, like this is old book page. But if you don't have old books and you don't, you know, want to go buy old books, ooh, see, this is how old this is. So what we're going to do to fix that is put some washi tape down that. You don't want to go buy all this stuff, you know, which I totally understand. You can use newer book page, like maybe go to the dollar store. I know they have dictionaries you could coffee dye. They even have Bibles you could coffee dye pages out of. Yeah, so you're just gonna find whatever you can. You can use tissue paper. You can use transparency paper. Oh, that's something I need to do, is print some transparency paper with some of the images. I need to do some more printing anyway, because I really only printed the kit out 1 time. So yeah, my first journal I used all different types of like composition notebook paper, just any paper I had, really. I coffee dyed it and folded it in half and used it in my first journal. And, you know, I obviously did use some scrapbook paper. Like if you go to Joann's and you get one of those big stacks of like the lighter weight scrapbook paper. I just could not put that on straight. This will strengthen that spine so that even if that book page does come apart, which it probably won't now, it's not going to fall in half, right? That's the only thing with old book page, is that cracking happens, and you want to put the washi tape on it or something, so it'll just break in half and come out of your journal. So make sure you strengthen it. You can tape both sides too if you want to. So yeah, book page, coffee dyed, composition notebook, graph paper, just anything. Coffee dye it all up, and maybe get a digital that you like. And then, you know, print out pages for that. And away you go. Like, you don't have to have the old book page. And then maybe as you go along, if you're at a thrift store or somewhere and you see an old dictionary or old books or something that have, and they don't have to be like hundreds of years old. A lot of times from the 70s or anything like that, they all get, I mean, heck, even some of my textbooks and stuff from college in the 90s have patinaed, you know. So really just any book, and it doesn't have to be a specific book either, like a certain type of book or anything. And just collect some of those. Bigger pages are kind of better, just because obviously then you're getting closer to the size of what you would want for a journal. You can use wrapping paper, kids' books. So if you have kids and they're not, you know, using all their books anymore, it's fun to do like little golden books for journals. Okay, I mean, paper, just whatever you can find. That printer's paper, or sorry, painter's paper works great. So don't feel like, oh, well, I don't have all that old stuff, so I can't do it. You can totally do it. You can do it with all just copy paper that you've coffee dyed. I mean, and then once you decorate it with the ephemera, nobody's going to even care if, you know, that it was old or whatever. Because it's going to look great. And I have a lot of people say, oh, I've collected and collected and collected, but I'm scared to make my first journal, which I get. I mean, it is, the first time is daunting. And when I made my first one, I was watching Nick the Booksmith. I hadn't found Gail yet, but then shortly after that, I was watching Gail. But anyways, you know, and I was scared to make my first journal because obviously, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to come out like Nick the Booksmith, but anyway, I just was like, okay, I'm going to do it because in the end, especially if you're not using like old antiques or something like that, if you're just using composition notebooks and junk, who cares? Like, if it gets messed up and it doesn't turn out perfect, because I've done an altered book that got totally messed up, you know, just move on and try again, because it's not like you've just ruined some $300 thing or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can just try again, and a lot of times you can salvage stuff. I mean, stuff is definitely fixable, that's for sure. Okay, this is something I do need to figure out here. Where is my, hold on, I gotta grab my ruler, it's over here. Because this is a lot longer than a normal sheet of paper. So I'm going to do this. Why do I always do that with the centimeters? Yeah, it's like 12 inches long. So I'm gonna mark it at mark it at 5.5, because that'll be my center point, and then one side I'll fold a little extra bit over. Actually fold it this way so we can see that work. But yeah, just have fun with it and just use stuff. And then, so maybe the first one you don't want to, until you know, have bound something once and stuff like that, maybe you don't want to use all the fancy stuff you may have collected. You might want to just try it with regular papers. And then once you're like, oh yeah, I can totally do that, then use your nicer paper, you know what I mean? And this side will get folded over. I just ripped that, seriously. This is old paper too, so you can see it's cracking. It's going to be still a little short, but that's okay, because we'll just turn that into a tuck. And it'll be on one side of the journal, and the other page will be on the other side of the journal, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to have to tape those too, because they're old. Kind of like this down here. I might have to get rid of that, but I'll use some of this numbers. But yeah, just try it. Don't just keep saving stuff, because it'll be like me with the Edith Holden pages that just sit here forevermore and never get used. And I can guarantee you my kids will throw them away when I'm dead. Because they're going to be like, why are there all these book pages that aren't in a book? You know what I mean? I mean, they know why, but they're like, what am I going to do with that? So, yeah, I say enjoy it. Just make it and have fun. It doesn't have to be a big stressor. It's supposed to be fun. That's what I did forever with watercolor too, was fret about, could I do it or not do it? And it's like, just do it, and if it's bad, throw it in the trash. Stop stop. Stop whining about it. You never know if you don't try it. I'm good at whining about it. Let me tell you. So yes, this is tedious, and I'll probably let you guys go. I know I haven't done a very long video, but that was sort of where I was at, and you'll know that I'm going to continue on folding my pages and what have you. And then I usually put in each signature around 15 to 20 pages, just depending on what I think I'm going to do, or, you know, whatever. Usually right around that, like, 18 mark probably is the most common. So then what I'll do is, you know, maybe decorate that or something, glue down both sides, and it'll just be a little tuck spot on a page. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the amount of pages. So yeah, right around that 18 or so mark is where I usually go. Because then you're going to stick a whole bunch of ephemera in, and you don't want it to get like so crazy full that it's all gator mouth. Because I've done plenty of those, believe me. Plenty of gator mouth journals, and I do like them kind of fat for sure. I don't like them if they don't really have anything in them, but because that's my favorite part, is making the ephemera. So you're just going to have to kind of do your own judgment on that, but how you like it. But you can also do, like, if you want to do a journal and you're not sure, just make one, a naked one with no ephemera in it, until you decide, yeah, that worked out well, so now I'm going to decorate it. You don't have to make the ephemera and put it in the journal and all that first. I do that quite frequently because that's just the way I like to do it. But like this one, I think I might put the whole thing together first and then decorate it. It depends on what I feel like doing, but you can totally do that. Like, put all the pages in, make sure it's the way you want it, and then decorate it. So you don't feel like I'm going to do all this decorating and then it's going to not turn out. So if you're just making a naked journal, then it's not as much pressure because you don't have all your nice things in there, you know, which I get, because sometimes when I bind, I'm like, oh, stressful. I think that's part of my problem with binding. It's all in my head because I get so, like, I did all this work and I put all this stuff in here and I'm going to ruin it binding it. And yeah, we all do it. We all do it. So just try to minimize that by maybe making the whole thing first and then decorating it with all your pretty stuff. And if you're making one for yourself, I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? I don't know why I'm struggling so bad with this tape today. It's because I'm filming this, so like it has to be this big marathon of how to do this. But yeah, that's what I would suggest. But I struggle too, and I get burnout too, and all the things get in my head about. Like last night, I was awake because I couldn't figure out how I wanted to do the cover. And then I got up here this morning and just, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. And then it was fine. So, go figure. Don't know. Anyway, some days. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going on like this. And you can start however you want. You can start with ephemera, if that's what you feel like doing. And then move on to the cover and all that, I've just decided I'm really going to try to do my covers first, because I just think I get myself all in a twist about the cover for some reason. So if it's done, then it's like, ah, done. I'm done with that. I think it's just I struggle deciding what, like, I feel like I think in my head that the cover needs to be this just glorious, wonderful thing. And really, in reality, you could make it totally plain, like just fabric or just paper or whatever, and put a little thing in there, you know, that says journal or something. But I just always feel like I have to do this big, grandiose thing. So that, yeah, I figured we're just going to do it and it'll be done. Yeah, I always felt like, oh, that's not enough. I need to add something else. Like I am struggling a little bit with that, but I just need to let that be, because it's got that beautiful frame on the front. Doesn't need anything else. Okay. Wow, I really did not get those really good, did I? My fingers are so sticky, I don't think I can do anything else anyway. So then, of course, what you do, I'm sure you guys know this part. I'll just give you an idea with what I've done so far. Now, obviously, I would use some of the digital pages too, but you're just stacking, right? In case you're new, I know to a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, Amy, we know. But a lot of people don't, because they've never done this before. So you can also, like, if you wanted to put this one in here, say like this, and then you can stagger. So when you have these different size pages, you can put this one all the way at the bottom. And then you're going to have, you know, staggering with your pages all throughout. And then, of course, you'll have the kit pages, which are more of a full-size page. I'll just use this piece of paper right here. This is just some scrapbook paper that I was given. I don't know. This reminds me of some stuff from the 80s. So I'm thinking it's probably around there. But anyway, and then you're going to have this, and you could choose to have it up or down or right in the middle. And then you could bring this one down even further if you wanted to. Like, take that one to the top of that page. Bring this one down more. Like that. Put this one right in the middle. And then obviously you have to get this all situated around before you stitch it into your journal. And maybe, you know, clip them with some clips or something. And then you're just going to sew it into your journal like that. And that way you'll have some pages in different spots, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting. So I will keep trucking along with this. Hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be a little more organized. Sorry about that. I was struggling to get this done today. So I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you again to the ladies who are joining me. I'm very excited to see what you guys make. It's always fun to see what other people do with your digital kits. So I thank you guys, and I will talk to y'all again tomorrow. Love ya. Bye.